5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Ignition. Liftoff.
Really? I just want you to tell me the truth. And you can tell me a truth that you know I don't want to hear, and I will respect you and help you, even though I don't agree with your truth. But it has to be the truth. That's important to me. So I think it's important that you go to school, make sure your child is learning, go read to the class that your child is going to get your child where they're not embarrassed. I don't care if you're a janitor. I don't care if you're a cab driver. I don't care if other people think little of you. It ain't about what other people think of you. It's about what you think of yourself and your child and your child's opportunity. So you have to go and interact and let that be known. That's really important. And we don't do that. White people do that. That's why Chinese people and all them people, some Spanish people, they do that. We very rarely do that. We don't interact with the school, and that's really important. That will give your child a contextual knowledge of knowing my parent got my back. I can talk to them instead of talking to all these other people about their problems, and all these other people have nothing invested in you. Your parents have invested in you. So you should listen to your parents. They raised you, they birthed you, they clothed you, they fed you. That's really important, and we don't practice that. He's a good politician. I remember the first day I met Mayor Allen, I told him in person, he looked presidential. Because he did. He got a head shaped just like Ted Kennedy. I'm playing. No, I'm not. I'm serious. Kind of look like Donald Trump too, but I know he's absolutely Democrat. Hi, my name is Ron Means, and I'm a lot of things. I've done a lot of things in my life. The thing I'm doing right now is I'm general manager of Austin Cab Company. We started out as Harlem Cab Company, and in 1943, a gentleman by the name of George Knox founded this company, and he ran it all the way up until the 70s when he died. He willed this company to his attorney and his secretary, but he promised it to someone else, but he didn't give it to him. I guess he must have owed the lawyer some money, and he just figured, this would be the best way to make sure the company survived, and he did what he did. When I was a little kid, I cut his grass. He lived right across the street from me, and he gave me my first tip, gave me a 75-cent tip. And I was really impressed with that because I was only charging him 25 cents to cut his grass. I had no idea what things were worth, but to get 25 cents for cutting your grass, that was a lot of money to a kid. And he gave me $1 and told me to keep the change. So I feel very honored to know that this man thought enough of my work and my friendship to tip me. And so anyway, through time, I got in law enforcement, and I did all kinds of stuff, flipped hamburgers, cleaned toilets, worked in different industries, pumped gas, helped do auto repairs, transmissions, motors, all this other stuff. I've done lots of stuff. But at the end of the day, I only had 2 jobs that I really liked. One was being a cop, and the other one was being a cab driver. And I think I loved being a cab driver, and I just liked being a cop. I take a lot of experience in the people I met and everything that I had happened to me with me to this moment in time where I'm talking to you. at one time I was interviewed by, I think I went to junior high school with this guy. I don't remember, but I think I did. His name is Bruce Blackwell, and he asked me to come and be interviewed. I think he really wanted to interview my mother, but he had to settle for me. And so I went and interviewed with him, and he did this thing. And I remember him asking me about Blackshear and UJH, and I went to Reagan. Well, at the end of the day, I remember talking to him about what's wrong in the schools. My wife is a teacher. I taught briefly for about a year. I didn't like being a teacher. I didn't like being cooped up in a room and just not being able to leave. Maybe I was claustrophobic. I don't know. I was used to being out and about. And that was in 1975. I remember the year. And so anyway, long story short, I do have experience with education. My mother was a teacher. My father was a professor. My sisters were teachers. I taught very shortly, briefly, enough to know I didn't want to do it. And my wife has been a teacher for like 22, 23 years. And the one thing that I've learned, call it gleaned, from this experience, all these experiences that I've had, is that black parents do not get involved as they should with their children education process as much as some white people do. And some, not all, I know, I'm just saying, for the most part, we just kind of put our kids in school, and then we have to work 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet, some of us. And then the others of us who could devote our time to our children, we don't do it. We don't do it for a lot of reasons. We might be busy doing something else, or we might figure that the people at school are going to do our job for us as parents. And no one's going to do your job for you as a parent but you. You have to do that job. You have to be involved in your child's learning process. I have a daughter. You have to be involved. You have to go to the classroom. You got to let the teachers know that you care. You got to get involved. You got to find out what the homework assignment is. You have to make sure that you are aware of what's due, so you can push your child to do it. Because, a kid is a kid, and kids going to try to figure out how to get out of the work. Everybody knows that. We all were kids, weren't we? Don't we all know that? Yes, we do. So, anyway, that's the secret to the success of raising a child, is being involved in the child's upbringing, schoolwork, knowing what's due. And sometimes these people at these schools, you think that they're teaching your child something good, and some of them are up to no good. So that's another reason why you have to be involved. It's your child. You're the one that's invested your time and your money and your heart and your soul and your love in your child. Those other people, they're just there for 8 hours. And when their 8 hours is up, or 6 hours, how many of hours it is, they've gone on to their family. They're not worried about your kid. That's your job. It's your kid. You had the kid. So that's one thing. Uber just left Austin, and I think they're coming back. But it doesn't matter if they come back or they stay, to me. We're always ready to compete, but I think the key is making sure you don't take anything or anyone for granted. We want business, and we want to be able to do business. I'm in the cab business. I had a limo company. I have a charter business. But I'm really, those contracts, and I'm really not into public stuff. Cab company is the only public entity that I'm involved in. The biggest problem with Uber was Uber came into Austin without permission. They didn't go to the city and say, we want to do business in the city. Let's fill out all these papers. Let's pay homage to the city. Let's pay fees. Let's make sure we have the right insurance that you want us to have, and all this kind of stuff. They came in and just did it their way, and the people at the city were so overwhelmed with the way they did it, they know what to do. Uber is an international company, and they're basically white people for all intents and purposes. They came in with a bunch of money, and these people in the city, seeing everyone else doing it, figured, well, okay, well, it's innovation, and people like innovation, and this is the 21st century, and we've got all these computers, and people could just pick up their phone, and get a ride within minutes. That's fantastic. The problem is they didn't do their due diligence. Same due diligence they do on cab companies, they need to do on Uber. If they have a rule that says that you have to have a limo, you have to have a 30-minute lead time, Uber should have had to do that. If they have a rule on limos that say that $55 an hour is the minimum you can charge, Uber should have had to do that. Uber wasn't a taxi cab service. It was kind of like a hybrid between a cab and a limo. Uber's cars aren't marked. Uber's cars don't have writing on them. Uber's cabs don't have taxi cab equipment in them. They're not drilling holes in the dashboard. They're not doing any of that stuff. So all the things that apply to a taxi cab wouldn't apply to Uber. Uber was more like a limo service. And the problem is people were able to do this on demand like a cab service. But the rates were different. They didn't have the overhead the cab companies have. People don't understand. People don't understand that the cab companies have to have a certain level of insurance. That we're liable. And that liability puts onus on the cab companies. The city is not liable, because they have a little rider inside of the contract agreement that says, the franchise agreement, that says you agree to indemnify the city of Austin, blah, 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 and they're not involved, no plausible, liability. Well, Uber didn't have that. What Uber did was they had the personal people insurance on your personal car, which is what, $80 a month? $100 a month or $120 when you got full coverage. But for a taxi cab, because the cab is on the road all the time, potentially, not a personal vehicle, commercial insurance could be as much as probably $500 to $2,000 a month, depending on the guy's driving record. A month now. I'm not talking about a year. We're talking about a month. And that's a big difference. So you got people with personal insurance riding people around with the app running through Uber, and it ain't costing Uber nothing. They're not even liable because it's on the personal person. So if someone got in a bad accident, the only recourse those people got is to sue that individual. And it's not going to be able to sue them for the amount of money, same amount of money they would sue if it was a limo or a taxi. So it's a problem. And this is the reason I believe that Uber left. I believe that the agreement for they had this vote that Uber wanted to contest because this Austin City Council voted to make them have to do background checks on the drivers, and somebody decided that instead of going to the State Highway Department, DPS, to do the background checks, which was $28, some wise person decided to do FBI background checks. Like the FBI is great. We know how great the FBI is not, don't we? We already know this. Because, didn't the FBI just interview this guy that killed those people down there in Orlando? And they let him go? Yeah, they're really doing a great job, aren't they? Okay? And so the FBI background check is $40. And they're doing that at the city. They're going through some company called Identigo. I just gave them some free advertising. And so, anyway, Uber didn't want to do that. They wanted to do it themselves or say they were doing it in order to not let the city know who their drivers were. They could just throw out a number. We have 10,000 drivers. Well, I should have 10,000 names. Oh, I don't have any names. Oh, I can't get an open records request. The Ken Paxton, the Republican Attorney General, he don't want to allow me to see the private um, driver list of an Uber because it's not a public company. Because it doesn't have to do business through the city because the city has not made them a utility. But they can ask to see my driver list, but I can't see theirs. See, that's messed up. This all of this is messed up. It's all Mr. Muxiplex. That's what I call him. I know I didn't pronounce it right. That's that little man on Superman comic books, little impish, elfish guy who wreaked havoc all over the place, and Superman had to trick him into saying his name backwards to get rid of him. Superman comic book stuff. And so anyway, long story short, it's all turned around, and they didn't want no one to know who their drivers were. So in order to have background checks through the city, you'd have to acknowledge who your drivers are. Number two, three points. Number two, the second point would be they had surge pricing, and the city wanted to regulate what the surge pricing would be. Well, they're not for that either, but I don't think that was a big thing for them. The biggest problem was they wanted to put insignias on the cars. All the cars that would be Uber cars would have to be inspected. They would have to have the VIN number. The city would have to have the VIN number. They'd have to put a sticker on the car or badge the car up. It would have to go through the process of inspection, making sure that the city knew this vehicle was in play. And that would mark the car and make it commercial. And that means that your personal insurance wouldn't cover it. Now, Uber was turning around telling everybody they had $1 million liability on every car. But it wasn't auto liability. It's general liability. Most people that are in business know that general liability does not cover autos. Auto liability is not the same as general liability. But because these people have millions and billions of dollars and their stock is traded and this, that, and the other, these people are willing to say, well, let's trust them because they're billionaires and they wouldn't lie to us. We can always sue them. Okay, I'm a billionaire. I'm not. But what if I told you I was? If I told you I was a billionaire? Now, I've been in this business over 40 years. Okay? If I've been in this business over 40 years, I got in this business in 1975. It's 2016. Okay? And I've been in this business over 40 years, and I'm a billionaire. If I told you that, wouldn't you want me to show you? Can Donald Trump tell you that he is worth $10 billion? They want to see it. Oh, well, I got this building over here, and I own this, and I do this, and I do. Yeah, but we want to see your tax returns. Tax returns won't tell you what someone's worth. They just tell you what they pay. Okay? Any dummy knows that. If you file income tax, you know that. It does not signify what you own. It just signifies what you owe them. But so you got a bunch of, left hand talking to the right hand kind of stuff. Talking about the left knee. 3 different conversations. And that's the problem. So you got the Uber people saying that you can trust them, that they're going to pay. Trust me. And then you got the people driving the cabs. They can't even go, the Uber cars, they can't even go get commercial insurance. If Uber finds out some of those guys got commercial insurance, they'll fire them. You know why they fire them? Because when they got commercial insurance, that put Uber on the hook as a commercial vendor with them. Even though they're self-employed independent contractors, it puts them on the hook. They don't want to be on the hook. They just want to be a dispatching service. So that's the problem. Now I'm in the cab business, and I've always been preaching to cab drivers from day one because I used to do it, and I know it works. Treat your customer right. Be respectful. Always be available. when they need you and when you're not working. Take that cab driver hat off and be a regular person. Do your job. Most of these cab drivers that I know, it's real hard to train them. We get no support from the city of Austin for training cab drivers, a bunch of talking, but nobody's stepping up. They got a little driver union. We don't need to train them. They got common sense. A lot of these people ain't from here. What do they have in common with the people that's from here, except they people? They don't know that they're supposed to get out of their car and open the door for people. They don't know they're supposed to have an umbrella when it's really hot to shield the people from that, to just give that kind of service, or the rain, or to put the bags in the trunk. They pop their trunk and sit in the car and wait for the people to do that, and then they want a tip. It's crazy. So we have to ramp up our service mentality when we're giving service. If you went into a restaurant to eat and you had to get up and go get your own food, would you want to tip the waitress or the waiter? No. Why would you? You did all the work. That's the problem. We want to do nothing, or pretty much nothing, and we expect to get tipped for that. It's an entitlement society. It's got to change. We sliding down a hill, a slippery slope. It's got to change. I know a guy's got 4 cab companies. Actually, he's got 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He got 8 cab companies that I know of in Texas. I'm not going to call his name, but I'll tell you what cities they're in. They're in Galveston, Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. Now, to my knowledge, he's got 8 cab companies. I'm not going to call their names. Just told you I'm not. And he got limo companies. I don't know the names of those, so I ain't going to worry about it. But this guy came to a City of Austin meeting with urban transportation, whatever they call them. They used to call them urban transportation. I think it's transportation department or something. I don't know. They keep changing the names. And he said he built a $10 million call center in Columbia, the country. And I couldn't believe I heard him say that, but thank God I taped it. And then I went and started looking around to figure out if what he said was true. And it's true. Now, I checked with some people in one of those other cities and found out that he plans to get rid of all his call takers in one of those other cities and send all his business down to Columbia. Well, you can do that easily with the internet and these computers. You can be anywhere, and that phone rings, pick it up, and you think you call in Austin, and you could be calling Columbia. Well, why do I care? Well, I'm going to tell you why I care. It's the same reason I don't like doing business with Ally Bank, Capital One. I like doing business with Capital One, but I don't like talking to them over the phone. Sprint, okay, Chase Bank. I could just start naming all these places that I do business with that I really don't like doing business with them, because I'm talking to people in India, Sri Lanka, Malaysia, Philippines, South Korea, now Colombia, Mexico, probably Cuba's next. Let's think about this. Now, I sound really bigoted right now, if you think about it. But let's think about it like this. I'm an American. I was born in Austin. I'm from Austin. My mother's from Waco. My dad is from Arkansas. I've got American Indian, white, and black. But I'm an American. These people are taking business. They're taking my American money and spending it overseas, and the people they're sending it overseas with, they're paying less than they're paying the people in America. And that means that our economy is being decimated. because there are less people over here being employed, and there's more people over there being employed at a cheaper wage. So let's put it to you another way so you can really understand my chagrin. And it's not just at that guy. It's at all of those companies and the ones that I don't know about. Think about it. The city of Austin will give a company a cheaper deal on some land and help them build a building because it's a tax breaks, because they're employing local people to work, and they're helping the economy, and they're allowing people to be able to buy houses and to pay rent and to boost our economy. And so when that business moves here, you got all this economic development. But then when the business is here and then it doesn't hire those people and it starts doing business somewhere else, they're taking the money from here, but they're spending it somewhere else, and they're keeping more of the money. Well, that's kind of what capitalism is built on. But the problem is that you're hurting the people that the whole reason that the city of Austin is giving you this tax break is so you help the people here. And you're not doing it. It's messed up. It's messed up. You know, I was watching this thing on Cuba. I want to go to Cuba one day. I have friends that are from Cuba, half Cuban, half black, half white, whatever, half Spanish, whatever. And the thing is, the people in Cuba, they make an average of $20 a month income. And the government taking care of everything, a la Bernie Sanders. Free schooling and free hospitals and free this, but they only making $20 a month. And they don't have no decent cars. And they can't afford to do nothing. $20 a month? That's funny. Actually, it's really sad. Now, if I went and put a call center down there in Cuba and I had people that spoke English and Spanish, like those people in Colombia, and I'm paying my people $11 an hour to start, and they're paying those people $20 a month. If I'm just a pure business guy and I don't care anything about people that I call my family, and I'm not talking about related to me when I say my family, I'm talking about the people that have worked for me for 40 years. How would I be okay with that if I cared about them? Anybody can say, well, we care about you. I feel your pain. Anybody can say that. But saying it ain't feeling my pain. You got to get down in the mud with me. You got to suffer and struggle with me. Let's suffer and struggle together and let's pull each other up. But see, it's kind of funny. Now we're going to another subject. I know that a lot of us, black people, and I know I'm not black. I tell people I'm beige. It's a joke. A lot of black people think white man's ice is colder. I know some of y'all have heard this. What it means is you come to work for me and then you go work for that white man and you might complain with me, but when you go work for that white man, you're not going to complain. It could be the same exact situation. And that needs to stop. I don't understand it. It's crazy. I got a limo I ride in every once in a while. I'm losing my vision. I'm pretty much blind. You can't tell? That's what these glasses are for. When I go outside and the sun is hitting my eyes, it hurts. And the fact of the matter is, I ride in my limo, tinted windows and all, and I get to watch TV. That's why I bought the limo. But a lot of people think that I think I'm better than them because I got a limo. I might be better than some of those people. I don't know who they are. But I don't think that way. I'm just doing it because I can't drive. And I want to be comfortable. And I can afford to do that, so I do it. But it's all about your perception and how you look at stuff. And we got to look at stuff through the eye of the person that's experiencing it. I don't know about that guy that owns those 8 cab companies. I don't know what kind of financial situation he's in. He may be about to go out of business. You know, he might not have no choice but to take his $10 million and build a call center in Colombia and operate. I don't know. I don't know what kind of lifestyle he has. I don't know how many mansions he has or how many different families he's supporting. I don't know any of that stuff. But I know how many people he's hurting. I know that he's got people that are working there and he's going to have to lay them off. For the first time in my life, I had to fire somebody, a group of people. 3 months ago, I fired 4 people. Of the 4 people, 3 of them were really good hard workers. And I really hated to let them go. But our business was suffering. One of our taxi cab company competitors lowered their prices in anticipation of some driver action to get their own cab company, and they had to drop their prices. And when they dropped their prices, they started stealing some of my own operators, drivers that own their own cars. And in order to save my company from harm, I had no choice but to lower my prices. So this happened because of something someone else did. And I had to eliminate some employees. And I didn't want to do that. I had to take a pay cut. We have to do what we have to do to survive. So I kind of do understand this guy doing what he's doing, but I don't approve of it. I mean, I could do that, couldn't I? We could probably get rid of everybody, except the people that install equipment. Probably could farm that out too. Well, that would kind of defeat the purpose of being in business. And having been the only black cab company in Austin, period. And we're probably the largest minority employer. Definitely in the transportation business in Austin. Even though the white man's ice might look like it's colder. I don't know, you tell me. This guy that ran for mayor, his name is Steve Adler. And I like him. But he's kind of weak looking. And, I think he made himself look weak when he was begging Uber not to leave. Begging them to stay after they lost their vote. I don't know who worded the ballot in such a way to where yes meant no and no meant yes. I don't know who did that. But I think whoever did it needs to be fired if it's somebody with the city. We got people working for the city transportation department. It's a joke. They don't know one end from the other end, in my opinion. Okay? And I'm not their boss. But if I was running the city, I would reassign all of them and make them go do something else. And get someone else in there that is paying attention and that is doing what they should do for the people. Because we pay them. We pay them with our tax money. We pay them with the personal property tax. We pay them with lots of ways we pay the city. And it's kind of really a travesty when you got people working for you to treat you like you working for them. It's really messed up. And I think that, and I'm not a politician. I wouldn't ever want to be a politician. You got to please too many people. This is Mayor Adler's problem. Mayor Adler wants to be the mayor. He may want to be the governor. I don't know if he wants to be the president. On a side funny note, I told him, you look presidential. Because he kind of reminded me of Teddy Kennedy, one of them Kennedys, and, he does. He looks kind of like that guy. And maybe he looks a little bit like Donald Trump, too. Mayor Adler is a good guy. I like him, but I think he's weak. And I think he's weak because he wants to be the mayor. And he wants to be loved by the most majority of the people because he's a politician. He wants to be a politician. Politicians have to please the majority of the people. And when you have 1,000,000 people in a city that can vote, but only 75,000 vote, then that means that most of the people didn't vote, but they paying attention. And so when 56% of the 70 or 75,000 people that voted for Uber to leave, then basically, because they told everybody, if we lose this vote, we leave it. And so they had to leave. Well, now you got people rolling around in the street in the mud crying and having a child's tantrum. And so they're upset about that. Well, if they're upset, he should be upset, because guess what? Those people going to blame him. Even though he was standing there saying, well, let's work it out. Please don't leave. Please, please. Even though he's doing that, now he got one group of people thinking he's weak. I'm in that group. But I like him. See, those people don't know him. I know him. I've sat down, we broke bread together. I like the guy. Then you got the other group of people thinking he's on our side, but he ain't got no power. So he can't win no matter which way you go. What he should have said was, the people have spoken. And that should have been the end of it. It would have looked like he was on the side of the people. Well, the people spoke. You're a politician. That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to speak for the people. The people vote. You speak for the people. If you lose the vote, you lost the vote. You work for the people. That's what the people that have been elected are supposed to do. So I just think it's all about how you look at it. But like I say, I'm not a politician. Would never want to be one. I'd be the worst politician there'd be.